So this is DMG, and welcome to the first video in story structure for RPGs. This video series will go through a very long list of things that will help you to create good, well-crafted stories that will intrigue and delight and be a lot of fun for your players. And if you are not a DM and you just want to be writing modules that DMs can run, this will also be very helpful for you as well. So in 7D system, we have what is called a narrative thread. So essentially a storyline, but it is a thread that runs through the story, and you can actually have multiple of these happening all at one time. But we define it as one thread because you're following one linear progression for each, there's points along this line that's happening. So a story can be a multitude of narrative threads all happening at the same time. But I'm just going to stick to one at the moment to keep it simple, and we will discuss multiple narrative threads later on in this video series. So the basic structure of a narrative thread is that you have 3 acts. So the first act is introduction, the second act is trials, and the third act is outcome. So the introduction act is where we're going to start, and this includes several narrative sections that form part of the narrative thread, and these begin with the hook, which I'm going to discuss in this video. Then there's the choice, which will be in the next video, the mentor, the clock, and the gateway. From there, we then transition into the trials act, and then after the trials act, into the outcome act. And we will cover all of these in future videos in this series. So what is the hook? Well, the hook, as anyone who's played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games, the hook is how you get someone to start an adventure. There's always a table, a list of hooks, that you can roll a D100 or whatever, and there's all these sort of things. So this is similar to that, but it doesn't need to be something which is on a table. You can pretty much make it up on the fly, or you can think carefully about how you can integrate this into the story at various different points during the story or right in the beginning. So in the beginning, the characters are in a state of equilibrium. So what this means, they're in the ordinary world, they're rested, they may have a little bit of damage. It's always good to start. It's always good to start with they're just a little bit off balance, but essentially they're in the ordinary world, they're hanging around in town, they don't really have anything to do. Then something occurs. So this is what we term the herald. So a herald can be a person, an object, a thought or a dream, and an event. So these sort of 4 things are things you can consider using as a hook. So with the hook, you want to create the notion of adventure. So you want to create in the player's mind the fact that this is actually going to lead to some kind of adventure. So adventure in terms of investigation or exploration, adventure in terms of social interactions, adventure in terms of combat, or adventures in terms of combinations of all these things. So you want to create the desire to find out more about what's happening. So you always want to leave out a little piece of information so that you want to pique their interest. What's this? Why is this here? What's happening? You're passing and you see a door you haven't seen before. What's this? Where does this lead to? That's what this is. So once this has been introduced, this leads immediately onto the choice. So in the next video in the series, we'll talk about the choice. But for now, it's about having a person, an object, a thought or a dream, or an event happening which sparks these things in the player. So if it is a person, could be something like a villager runs in and starts shouting about brigands that are coming. That is a great classic trope. There's other things like you're hanging around in the tavern and you overhear someone talking about the very same brigands, or you you overhear the local healer whining about how a lot of the mushrooms he normally collects have disappeared, and it's very, very odd. So you now have the players thinking about, why has this happened? What is occurring here? Why are the brigands attacking? Why are the mushrooms disappeared? These things will start to percolate in their mind. If it's an object, so this could be things like a note, so they find a note or a letter, or they come across a gravestone with an inscription that is very intriguing. So, that leaves something to be desired, something they need to find out more about what this thing is all about. So that's how you can use an object. A thought or a dream, very simply, the DM or the director or the dungeon master or the games master, whatever, tells one of the players that they're having a dream, or they suddenly have a thought that relates to something that they've forgotten, or something that they now remember, or something they hadn't considered before, a new way of looking at something, which opens up their mind to an adventure that could actually happen. So, for instance, they forgot that in the last dungeon that they were in, that there was that door, that secret door that they were going to come back to later. Now, there may not have been a secret door there, but as the director, you're implanting that information into the game. So they're like, now, okay, well, what was behind that door? We need to go and find out what was there. So the event is simply something happens. So a dragon flies over the village, or a strange purple cloud appears on the horizon. It's an event that's occurring, that's not a person, it's not an object, it's not a dream. So, that is going to pique the player's interest. They're going to want to find out, what is this problem? Does it need solving, and are we the ones to solve it? So, that is the hook. So in the next video in the series, again, we're going to talk about the choice, which happens immediately after the hook. So thank you for joining me. If you would like to see future videos, please subscribe to this channel. If you would like to assist this channel, you can check it out on patreon.com/7dsystem. There is also a Facebook page and a website, 7dsystem.com. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time.